Hi everyone. In this video I am trying out some new paper and I'm painting upright on this easel by Meeden, I think it is. I will put it in the description. I was watching a video a few months ago actually by Krista Irene Art, and she had this really cool desk easel she was using with her sketchbook, and it just looked like the perfect size. And because it was a solid board, unlike the regular easels with the three-legged stands, it just seemed really sturdy and able to accommodate a book or a block like what I'm using here today. And this paper, like all watercolor papers, are so different from each other. And I noticed when I had been trying it out prior to doing this video, it really doesn't absorb water very fast. And I'm coming to understand that the style in which I paint is very wet. And so some papers absorb better than others, and I just have to be careful which brushes I use at which stage of the painting. But I was also remembering some other instructional tips about watercolor, about how to guide the paint around and use gravity in your favor. So I thought, given the properties of this paper and the fact that I wanted to try out this new easel, would probably make a really good combination. And I was right, because anytime I got a little bit of water gathered in one area, since it was upright, it just kind of puddled downward so that I could guide it and eventually lead it into a thinner place where it didn't exactly pull up, if you know what I mean. So that was the idea behind this video. This paper was sent to me by my friend Tema. Shout out to Tema at the Chewy Jesus Chick channel. She really recommends this paper. She said she loves it. There's another channel called Drawings in a Drawer. She happens to really love this paper as well. And although I really like the Arches paper, I was looking for something comparable because it does have a smell that I really don't like. And I mean, I'll put up with it, but if I can find another paper that's comparable that does not have a weird smell, then yeah, you know. And I think I've also come to realize that a lot of what my channel has become and what it started out not necessarily with the intention of, has been about trying new supplies and seeing if it can make my art experience more gratifying. So there's just a lot of unnecessary struggles I think artists go through because they're trying to make do with what they have, and that is obviously what we really need to be doing with our supplies, and really investigating the properties of everything that we have at our hands. However, once you have done that, you know, there might be something that lends itself a little bit more to your style, a little bit more to your satisfaction, and we all have specific needs, you know. Not suggesting that everybody goes out and like buys all the art supplies you can get your hands on, and you know, that can be a little obsessive, I know, and I'm sure every artist knows that. But you do kind of hit a wall when you've exhausted all of your student supplies and you don't realize that some of the attributes and properties of certain supplies are really a barrier. If you've ever been relegated to just student or child grade watercolors, crayons, things like that, you know, as a kid, your experience with these things was a lot different than when you got older and you tried different things. And I mean, I never thought that crayons would actually translate into pastels, oil pastels, and that the watercolors that we grew up with would, you know, be so enjoyable to use if you were to switch to tube paints. So I think, again, you know, what this channel has really started to become is me really finding, along with discovering my style and what I really like to do and what I really like to experience in art, is how I can find the supplies that support that in a way that makes this experience much more enjoyable. And that all might just be stating the obvious, but it's a little bit more intense when you have sensory issues and, like in my case, vision loss, or if you have any other types of quote-unquote special needs. And that's such a strange term to me now, because I realize that every human being is special and we all have needs that differ from each other. So we really should be, as much as possible, within reason, accommodating our environment to fit what suits us. And anytime you can make your experience on this planet a little more happy and joyful and interesting, then that's just another plus, right? So a little more about this paper. I do like that there is multi-layering capabilities here. If you're, you know, rotating enough from your wet and dry areas and patient enough to let the wet areas dry, and or not getting them super wet to begin with, it can go on forever with the layering, and the hard edges don't stay hard unless you want them to. You can really soften things up pretty easily, and the lifting is moderate, which I actually really prefer in a paper. So if things lift too easily, then you can disturb everything you've worked on. If things don't lift well enough, then you're kind of screwed if you want to change something. So for instance, the eye on the right, to our right, started to shift a little bit at some point in the painting, and I wanted to get it back in line with the other eye to be more symmetrical. So I ended up lifting off some of the edge that was closest to the side of the face, and that was much easier with this paper. So that, and being able to turn that color into, you know, a muted tone of the white of the eye. So it was also Payne's gray, which is very easy to lift. That helps too. Using grind wetting colors often helps. Speaking of colors, I used Yano Smith, burnt sienna, raw sienna, Payne's gray, Quinn burnt scarlet for the reds, and naphthalide maroon, which is a really, really interesting, like a burnt umber violet kind of color. But yeah, really nice color, muted tones and limited palette, but not my usual. So tried to do a little water splotchy abstractness for some interest, and I probably should have taped the paper, but yeah, realizing when I do blocks that it's probably a good idea to tape the edges, but not super necessary. So yeah, this painting was done in my usual style, and this little light show means that we're at the end of the video. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!